to the channel. I'm Henrik and this is Grand Tactician. This is a video made in mid-October 2022. So you're looking at the base game in its last feature patch 1.09. And currently the game is on sale on Steam, 20% off, I believe, which makes it cost, give me a second here, 36 euros. The full price is 45 euros. And I mean, there is, if you can find a better price online, kudos to you, but I don't think you can get it. It's quite an expensive game for considering the state of the game. I have to say that more or less everyone I read about their opinion on Steam or watch their YouTube, people really like this game, but they're not too happy with the state of the game. It's wonky, glitchy, unbalanced and weak AI, etc. So if you want to support the developers, I think you should cough up the 36 euros and play it. I played 270 hours of it, so I definitely got my worth out of the money I paid for it. But it has also led to a lot of frustration playing the game because of how unpolished it feels. With that said, if you aren't new to this channel, you probably know that I played a long series this fall as the Confederate on the hardest difficulty level, and I think intermediate aggressiveness, and that was partly fun and partly frustrating because I managed to grind down the Union's forces over around 3 years of gameplay. And midsummer 1864, I know I had the Union on the ropes, and for now that's a wrap for that series. And I felt like, okay, so what do I do next? Do I play another game, or do I play a Union campaign to kind of understand and learn the Union side of the game? But I felt if I could defeat the AI, even though I had certain house rules, hardest setting, how much of a challenge would it be to play the Union really? It felt like it must be super easy. But then on Steam discussions, I ran accidentally over some hints of a mod. And if you go to your Steam library, that's where you have the game, and you go to discussions, it's not going to be a tab on the top of the game, but it's going to be on the right side, in the right column where it says subforums. There is a column called mods. It's kind of, for me, it was kind of hard to find it here, and there's only one mod, like large overhaul mod, and it's called A.O.M Overhaul Mod. The current version, as you can see in the title of this video, is 0.635, and we're gonna be a bit patient here, and I'm gonna read to you a couple of items or features that I've changed. It's quite a lot there, so I'll try to. The last update is from 14th of August. What they have done is they lower the break surrender limit for morale to 10 instead of 25, so it will be harder to defeat your opponent. Now that's a good idea in general, I feel, but on the other hand, if you have your opponent down to 25 morale, you kind of know where the war is going. I guess I don't quite see, does it matter if you defeat them now or in like 2 months of war, or 3 months, or a couple of hours more of gameplay? I find that the initial part of the war is the most interesting versus AI, where you actually have to struggle to defeat them. Once you know you're gonna win, it's this slippery slope of like, it's not that interesting to me. Anyhow, new national morale values for longer war, seems good. New spring and summer 61 scenarios, that's the most interesting, that they have balanced it. It's more historical. Is it harder? Is it more challenging? 190 new officers. I ran out of officers for certain states playing, and I didn't have a huge army or anything. I had a large army, but still, I think it's a good idea to add new officers. Readiness Overhaul, Recruitment Overhaul, Battle Overhaul, morale and unit ranges have been made more realistic. Okay, they're saying realistic, they're not saying balanced. But let's talk a bit about tactical combat in the game. If you go from the ordinary muskets, the base weapons, they have a 250 yard range. If you buy improved rifle muskets, you go up to 400 yards. That's a around 40% increase in range, which makes and upgrading of weapons is so incredibly powerful range-wise in the base game that I felt that, you know, just by focusing on trying to get more modern weapons, you were able to kind of outpower the AI, not only with how you maneuver your troops on the battlefield tactics, but also like technology-wise, even though you were the Confederacy. Anyhow, so I opened up this mod and I checked out the range values and they're not even numbers like 300, 400, 500. Now they're 296. Don't ask me how realistic that is. I couldn't tell you black powder, efficient, large formation, fire for effects of these weapons. I have no idea. I doubt the modders do as well because we don't shoot at each other with these kind of weapons for real anymore. But, you know, it seems to me that the base muskets and the rifled upgrade versions, they're closer to each other. So yes, there's going to be an advantage of 20, 25, 30% of range. But it's smaller. And whether it's more realistic or not, I'm fairly sure it's going to make combat more balanced. Higher technology, it was a great advantage, and it should be, and it is, and it still will be, but I just like these theoretical values without having played this mod. So I think a range overhaul seems great. Campaign AI overhaul, improving the AI as much as we can. That's all it says. Campaign AI, I feel like the campaign map AI is better than the tactical battle AI. That's my experience. But who doesn't want an improved AI in a game? And in this game, it's sorely needed. So I hope they have done. I don't know what they've done. Sickness and attrition rework. Yeah, I really didn't feel like sickness and attrition. I didn't even notice it. Sure, the Confederates, I played very defensively. I stayed in close to my own supply sources. I didn't advance. I didn't maneuver a lot, at least early war. But sickness and attrition, if you want to play a more realistic campaign, there should be more of that. I'm fairly sure, because we all know in this time of history, sickness and attrition, you had a higher chance of dying outside of battle than in battle, and battles were bloody affairs. Revamped Weapon System. Almost all weapons have had their range, accuracy, and firepower modified for a more realistic and escalating conflict. All right. So that's a second point about the weapons. I don't know if that's overlapping each other, but the thing is, if you go into the game and play the game, you cannot see the firepower of each individual weapon in the hover over tooltip. You can only see that in the manual. And I don't even quite know what firepower means. Is there like, because the hit point of a brigade is 1 manpower. If you have a 3,000 man brigade, if you lose a unit, you lose 1 single combat soldier represented in the game. So you're down to 2,999, right? They can be disabled, wounded, killed, or missing. I guess missing is they run away, they're rout. Anyway, firepower, maybe the higher the firepower, the higher the chance of killed and wounded, and the less chance they just run. I don't even know from reading the manual what firepower does, how it affects. Is it like, I'm sure higher firepower is better, but for what? Anyway, more realistic and escalating conflict sounds good. Perk overhaul. Almost all perks have been overhauled. Sounds good to me. Yeah, perks felt like I didn't really I choose some perks almost always, and I struggle like, well, I wanna have different sort of troops and units, but why would I just felt like certain perks were stronger. And also for me it was very hard to understand what the perks really did. You would read the description in the manual, which was identical to in-game tooltips, and you're like, all right, I guess this perk maybe does this or maybe this. It was very unclear. So I hope they have also modified the tooltip instructions for the perks. That would be lovely. AI implements Army core system much faster and more realistically. Wow, that's impressive. That's another AI improvement. Redone project costs. Okay. I didn't feel... I have too little experience with the projects to say that, ooh, these costs are imbalanced. I hope... probably these guys have much more experience and many other rebalancing tweaks and unofficial bug fixes. There's a couple of planned, more officers, economy overhaul, terrain effects overhaul. Those are planned features from after August 2022. There are a few known issues here. Like, when fighting the opening battle of the first Bull Run, Johnston doesn't show up on the enemy's reinforcement. This is a common vanilla bug. Save your game and reload it until Johnston appears. We also recommend fighting the battle as soon as possible to reduce the odds of the AI doing something weird. Alright, we're gonna go into that when we play the game, but it's like... It's actually an interactive campaign map. How do I know the first Bull Run battle? You start the game very close to Bull Run, 21st of July. But I can't force the AI to attack. Or is it scripted? It's a bit confusing to me here. Like, I don't understand. But you will see that the historical setup is extremely more historical. So I have opened up so we're gonna check the start campaign, but I have opened up a campaign and started to micromanage leaders, weapons, units, etc. But I haven't unpaused it. So I have checked out a bit on map, but since we're now in A.O.M, there is an A.O.M summer scenario here. And they clearly write here that if you start the spring, February campaign, it says, this scenario is meant for ahistorical and sandbox playthroughs. We have decided to stop focus and work on this scenario besides basic fixes for now. Do not expect immersive or historical outcomes when playing this scenario, as this scenario is not how A.O.M was intended to be played. Right, so you have a spring, but I feel that it gives an advantage to a human player to be able to, which is fun. You can shape your nation, you can shape your armies, everything a little bit better. I like that. The problem is the AI is so weak that, yeah. All right, and it seems in this one you can pick different, what do you call them? Policies. But whereas if you pick the historical summer A.O.M campaign, which is the main focus of their mod, you have the historical Kansas a free state, industrialization, and Indian wars. You cannot even pick other policies. What you can do is you can pick the Confederates' aggressiveness and difficulty. And lately I listened to a lot of YouTube videos and one guy said that it might actually be better for the AI to play on difficulty mediocre than on very hard. And why is that? Fighting spirit. Because the AI will have increased fighting spirit, which I think transfers to tactical battle morale of your individual brigades. That means they will handle their troops fairly unskillful, and they will just stand and take more losses before they rout and run away. So having very hard might actually make the AI take more losses suffer more losses than if you play on normal. Now, unfortunately, I started my campaign on very hard. In certain other aspects, of course, this is gonna make the campaign harder. But it might, because in the last campaign I managed to inflict 3-1 losses overall during the entire war, and that's the losses in the ledger. It has nothing to do with well, that's actually casualties, like I guess wounded and dead. But it's a bit of a toss up here whether very hard is actually helping the AI, I suppose. I choose to go with low aggressiveness. You don't want the Confederates to invade and attack you too much. I don't think that helps the AI, but you don't want it to just sit still forever. So I guess 1 up. I think me in my last campaign and other people experienced that even at mediocre, the AI can be quite aggressive. And I don't know if this mod has changed this behavior. Recruitment activity, probability of evasion, defensive operation. Okay, even defensive operations. Like if you have calm, won't it even do defensive operations? I don't know. Also, what I learned is that the AI has different persona. So if you don't go with historic AI opponents policies, if you take random here, this will like start a scripted AI persona or policy. One of many AI personalities will be randomly picked. Each personality has different pre-war policies and political priorities during the campaign, right? So you can get one that's barely do anything. They just hope that the European nations will intervene and help them out in the war, and they'll barely recruit, they'll barely move their troops. They won't do anything militarily. It's not historical, but it's one. If you are unlucky within quotes and get this AI opponent policy, sure, it's gonna mix stuff up, but it wouldn't be much of a fight. So I'm gonna go with historic. So the settings I have set is very hard, hardest difficulty, AI aggressiveness 1 up at low. I'm gonna go with historic and AI. So it says here that you start 21st of July from Manassas to Appomattox. Interestingly, the size of the armies are about equal, although the Union outnumbered the Confederacy 2-1 with ships. I think the Confederacy, there's no way you had 69 ships when you started the vanilla campaign. No way. I couldn't tell you how many Union ships there you had, but it seems the Confederacy is quite a lot stronger on naval-wise in this campaign. And I'd say, as a human player, I would have been hard-pressed to play from spring, 61, to July, and have 90,000 troops in the field. So I do feel that the Confederacy maybe is a tad stronger in this start setup. And they talk about the Anaconda Plan, Fort Sumter, 75,000 militia for 3 months. Yes, that's a thing here. So far the fighting has been small in scale. The Confederates have made their defensive preparation by moving 2 of the largest armies to North Virginia. That's a lot of text here. I don't think I'm going to read the entire text, but they clearly worked on... Oh, another thing is they suggest to turn off feuds because it will hurt the AI more than it will hurt you. Because you can do something about it, but the AI is unable to handle it. So the AI, it actually punishes the AI rather than the human player. I did not turn it off because I wasn't aware when I started it, and I'm not going to do this setup once again. So I want to discuss the number of troops a bit. When you log into the game, when you actually start this scenario, you will notice that around 1/3 of these troops, they will actually, their contracts are 3-month contracts that's been going on up until July. So in 11 days, you will lose 1/3 of your army. And I remember reading about this, that Lincoln really wanted a battle because he wanted to use his 3-month volunteers. Kind of cannon fodder policy there, but I can understand it. Like, you recruit this army, you train it, you equip it, you send it out into the fields. Sure, it's only militia, it's only 3 months, but you want them to do something before they go home, right? You want them to quell this rebellion. But I don't know how many of the Confederates, 90,000 troops, is any of them going to go back home in a couple of days in this scenario? Or are you going to fight severely outnumbered after just a couple of days? That's the first question I have. The second is, what happens if the AI doesn't attack you within 11 days? Because most of your armies are at low readiness, so you can't actually move them around. You can't even retreat with them out of Confederate territory because they're below yellow or green readiness. Maybe you shouldn't play this with readiness system. During a campaign, the unit's readiness to carry out operations varies depending on status and situation of the units. Units with low readiness cannot carry out all orders but will need to recuperate. Yes. I think when you start spring 1861 vanilla scenario, every unit is at no readiness, right? Makes sense. But here you have one army that is green that you can move around. It's up in West Virginia. And the rest are, I think you have one yellow. The rest are orange, so you can't move them. That means you're in the hands of the AI. If the best thing for the AI were to like not attack the Union army, 11 days later they will lose 30,000 troops because they're gonna go home. And I don't even know what happens with units that it says that many of these troops will re-enroll. And I think you can even have a tooltip somewhere that says 51% of these troops will re-enroll. I don't know if that means they'll go back into the volunteer pool where you can recruit them anew, or if they stay as military units on the campaign map with half the strength. I would suspect that units that their contracts run out will just disappear from the map, which is a shame if they're experienced units. As the Confederates, you can research new policies that will allow you to prolong their contract, the unit's contract. So you will never ever have to send units home from the war. I think this is historical. The Union, I think, had to dissolve or disable, what do you say? Like the contracts ran out and they offered hefty sums of re-enrollment money, but if they would send these veterans to other units or recruit the same military units, I don't know how that worked, and I don't know how it works in the game. But it's going to be challenging to research 12 and then 24. Well, you have researched 12-month volunteers, right? So the first thing you want to do is research 24-month volunteers. If you do that during July, you're going to be done around August. That means August 1863 and the end of the summer, you will lose all the troops you recruit during summer 61. That's not good. As far as I understand it, the Union can't prolong these troops. They're going to be 2-year veterans, and you're going to lose them all. So you'd rather research 36 months volunteers, but that's another month, or even, I don't know, 45 or 60 or 50 days. And that's going to mean late fall. You can't stay with an army 60,000 strong versus 90,000 Confederate troops for 3 months. I'm fairly sure it would be quite difficult to even fend the AI off this way. So I feel this opening, very historical, is going to be quite a lot more challenging than the vanilla setup. I have not played the summer scenario. I only played the early spring scenario, where you have a couple of months to set things up. So I'm a bit I'm apprehensive to start this campaign. First off, because of the wonkiness of the game that I talked about earlier, like, oh, do I want to play this more? But I also feel excited that, wow, this campaign looks historical, more balanced, better AI, more challenging situation. And I would love to hear if any viewer has played the A.O.M Mod. I have not seen any YouTubers play this campaign, so this might be a little bit unique compared to what other people are playing, and I certainly hope that it's better balanced and more challenging. So after this not so brief introduction to the scenario, we're gonna take an overview of the overall situation in the next video. I'm not sure we're gonna unpause the game at all. I'll just show you. I haven't examined the naval situation yet. That's one of the reasons I want to play the Union. As the Confederate, I didn't mess around with the Navy almost at all last campaign, so I know nothing about naval warfare in this game. There we go. A.O.M Total Overhaul Mod introduction. Can't think of anything else to add here. We'll see how it turns out. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.